And we're back with another episode of the podcast, of the All Rounders podcast. MDU is back. MDU is back. Yes, Pilagaiwan. Yes, Pilagaiwan. Yeah. Now you've caught up, Nons. Thank you, you've caught up. We're back with another episode of the All Rounders podcast with myself, Pila Sanders Sikaba, and of course, Nono Pongolo. Don't worry about what he's done before. He's doing this now. So yeah, welcome, Nons.
Thanks, man.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
What a weekend.
What a weekend.
I think a lot of us have been couch potatoes.
Yeah, no. Look at me, I'm fat.
Oh, sorry, the powerlifting.
Look, I had to work hard at the gym today because, this weekend is a lot that happened. Before we get to the weekend, a couple of shout-outs as well. A big shout out to the DP World Wanderers for allowing us to use the space. Fantastic space, iconic stadium. You can see everything so nice behind us. Home of the DP World Lions. And of course, this coming weekend, there's an international here at the Wanderers. South Africa up against Australia in the 5th and final ODI, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. On the 17th.
Yeah, because tomorrow they're in Poch.
Yeah.
And then Super Sport Park, then followed by one.
Yeah, so that 5th and final one-day international. Grab your tickets, please, because it's going to be a very, very good game, depending on what happens with Poch tomorrow. And, of course, Poch Vegas, the home of Nono Pongolo. And, of course, what happens at Super Sport Park in Centurion on Friday. So, potentially, that 5th and final one could be a blockbuster. So, get your tickets and come to the
Bull Ring.
Yeah.
DP World Wanderers.
Yes. Nons? Yeah, man, let's start off with some rugby because finally, the Rugby World Cup is here.
It's funny because a lot of people say the Rugby World Cup officially started.
Oh, yeah.
No.
It's
like all the other stuff.
Only when the defending champions play. Yeah, it's like the Premier League. Only when Chelsea plays. That's when the Premier League weekend starts.
Break,
but
guys.
Anyway,
we're on international break. Please respect us.
Only when Chelsea plays. That's when the Premier League weekend starts. But let's start with the Rugby World Cup. Great opening weekend, by the way, because I don't know. I'm not a real big fan of opening ceremonies. Are you big?
No. I don't watch. I never. Maybe I'm not the most artistic person around. Cause I don't appreciate those things, and also I just think. Yeah, maybe we don't get like what's it about.
Yeah.
Maybe that's being communicated.
The concept, theme.
Because it's just very. Yeah, I never get what's going on.
So I did try and sit and watch through that opening ceremony.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I tried. And I sat through the entire thing. But it was nice though because 2007. How old was I in 2007? I was
23 Tabata 7.
Yeah, somewhere there. I was quite young in 2007, but I still remember the like most of what happened in 2007, and so I tried to compare it to how that opening ceremony was and how 2023 was different from a French perspective and what they had to show, and a lot of it is basically about the participating countries and, of course, the host country or the host nation showing off their heritage and all of those nice things about France, and, of course, including the teams that are participating at the World Cup. So it was quite nice for me to watch it, and then, obviously, the opening game between France and the All Blacks. What a game. Beautiful game of rugby. And I think when you look at it in from a neutral perspective, it's probably the best game of a Rugby World Cup opener that I've seen in quite a long time. Sure, 2019 was nice, 2007 was nice, 2015 was nice, but this one is a little bit different because you have two sides that have actually come into the tournament with a lot of form, and then you could see the home side really getting into the game as the game grew older, and really running the All Blacks off their feet. And I think that's the difference now, is that the Northern Hemisphere, we spoke about like the Southern Hemisphere dominance at the Rugby World Cup, but when you have a side like France that's done well, lots of confidence from the Six Nations, and then coming into the opening game, big game of a World Cup like that, and beat the All Blacks the way that they did. It bodes well for not only France but also the other northern hemisphere sides.
Yeah, I mean, initially, I think probably the viewership, you could say here day one.
Yeah.
I think all our eyes were on that game to kind of say, okay, the World Cup is officially for the rest of the world started.
Yeah.
But the nice part was for me to obviously watch such a massive game up front.
Yeah.
And I think the expectation is, how would France, being at home,
Yes.
host nation,
Handle.
yes, there's been some positivity around how they could play and do in this World Cup.
Yeah.
And to have, well, New Zealand started like a house on fire.
Yeah.
But somehow managed to grab hold of the game, France, and got themselves back in the game. And yeah, I guess to get that victory for me, especially with the expecting nation and handle themselves really well, I think it bodes really well, because in any World Cup, you always want the host nation to remain as long as possible in the tournament.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to be not as fun, but at least there's that jeopardy for the French people. If France is there, so yeah, it's a hell of a start. But you know, like, it almost goes back to 10 days prior to that. I think South Africa pulled a massive victory against France. And we
New
heard
Zealand.
New Zealand, the breakdown lads. Kind of, no, they'll get it right. New Zealand will get it right, and we expect New Zealand to sort themselves out and get back into what we expect of New Zealand. Day one didn't start well.
I've actually wanted to be a fly on the wall of the next sort of recording of that famous New Zealand show, because it's they spoke really like what happened at Twickenham. It's a once-off. It will never happen again. When we get to the opening game against France, everything will be forgotten. They walk over France and just carry through that group. But it wasn't like that.
And like you said, I mean, initially, I think the first half, we can all probably agree, was very competitive. And we didn't really know which way it was going to go. But the second half, I've never seen a New Zealand side look so void of ideas.
Lost.
I mean, they were just kicking everything away, and you ask yourself, like, what is going on? And like, obviously, just listening to some of the posts, is like, it just seems like when you put this New Zealand side under pressure,
no answer.
There hasn't been really they haven't had some good responses to it. South Africa, we remember that game at Twickenham. It was literally 25 minutes under pressure, and obviously the yellow card started coming. And just this team just doesn't seem to have a response when they put under pressure. And I'm not sure if that's the group itself or maybe some of the coaching that's been happening behind the scene, but it's some really interesting stuff. And I think a lot of teams would be if you can find ways to pin this New Zealand side. And again, yellow cards seem to come out, I think there's an opening in that particular group.
Let's speak of that result in context to how the rest of the tournament will go, and of course South Africa is in the mix of that context, because we're likely to face either New Zealand or France, depending on where we finish in the quarterfinals, especially where we finish in our pool. You can already see now how it's taken shape only from the first weekend of Rugby World Cup 2023 that possibly New Zealand will finish second. France will top that group, possibly. And then South Africa, with that victory against Scotland, possibly, We if we get past Ireland, then we possibly finish between 1 and 2. So it all hinges for South Africa, and particularly in our pool, on the result between South Africa and Ireland to determine who will finish who and who will face who in the quarterfinals. So from that result point of view, I think I don't know whether to say it's a good one or a bad one for South Africa that France beat New Zealand, because it puts a bigger responsibility on South Africa to now sort of finish top of the group to probably face a New Zealand side that they've already beaten so far this year. But it also, I don't know, maybe it's a bad one because maybe we wanted to face France at the home side. And it's just so many permutations and a lot of sort of mind games in terms of who will finish who in these two pools and who would likely want to face who in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it's well. I probably heard straight away on Friday when I was listening to the post.
Yeah.
And guys were already kind of South Africa hadn't even played a game.
Yeah.
And they were busy discussing. Guys, if you're gonna win the World Cup, you're gonna beat everyone. And I think the most important part again for South Africa is just focus on what they need to do. I think Tonga is next.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do is to play what's in front of you. And if you happen to be top of the group, that's what happens.
Great. Yeah.
That's what happens. When you start trying to be creative, maybe, because also we talk about momentum a lot.
Yeah.
And once you we said how important for most teams this first game is.
Yeah.
And South Africa got the most important part was the victory. Yes, the performance, you might question the performance.
Yes.
New Zealand haven't started well. Now they're under pressure to come back. And that's the difficulty of the tournament. Now France have got the momentum. New Zealand have started badly. Now can you come back? Because now if it goes to 2, you're basically out of the tournament. So momentum is key, and of course getting that rhythm into the tournament. You want to build up. You don't want to be peaking, play your best performance now.
In the pools.
You want to be playing your best performance almost basically semi-final, final type of because final is anyone's game really because it's just anyone on the day. I'll say the most important part for South Africa and New Zealand is that the performance wasn't great, but New Zealand can still turn around the next game. I mean, South Africa won the World Cup after a bad start. We've seen it in football as well, where Spain went to win the World Cup after losing the first game of the tournament. So it's not like it's something that is new. It's important that you obviously, it's generally better to win that first game.
Yeah. Fiji last night was great as well.
What a game.
What a game of rugby.
What a game.
Yeah.
Probably the best game of the weekend.
I'd reckon so. I mean, I after the first half, I thought, Fiji is gonna really, and it's an upset if you look at it in context, because if you're Fiji and you're up against Wales, everybody obviously expects Wales to win that game. But if you're Fiji and you go out to a really good start like that, I mean, Nayaselevu, Radradra, that center partnership is absolutely rocking for Fiji. They're a big side. They talked a lot about how they went back to their roots. They camped in Fiji for quite a long time before the World Cup, just to remind themselves of where they come from. I mean, these guys now play most of their rugby, in different countries, apart from some of the guys that play for Fiji Drua in Super Rugby. But a lot of the guys now play in France, Japan, some in the Premiership. So, I think it was so good to see from the coach, Simon Raului, to come back and really put them and remind them and give them something to play for. And you could see it against Wales last night. They really pushed themselves and they pushed the limits and the bodies to really play for their families, their heritage, their country, and really put on a big performance, which they did, but unfortunately just couldn't get over that line.
Yeah, there was probably, like I said, the performance of the weekend. And in a way, you would say Wales upset because a lot of people were kind of expecting Fiji to have, to kind of pull that victory off and beat England, 10 days prior to that at Twickenham. And you would have been expecting, but I think there's obviously talking point of the refereeing. But maybe let me not focus on that first. Let's say they had opportunities to seal the game. There's a couple of on the try line. It was a missed opportunity there. Of course, the long pass right at the death, knock on, game goes. So what's really good to see, I think, from Fiji's point of view, is that they're actually competing.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned before the importance of Super Rugby.
Yeah.
And the importance that now even the coach mentioned that playing some of these bigger nations prior to the World Cup is also so good for the players.
Yeah.
Because now you get to see where you are in terms of your standards. You start matching up. You get to see, okay, where are we falling short against the developed nations. And again, it's so important for these guys to play more and more of these games. And strong, fast, at times playing with one man down, but sometimes it's always the case with some of these South Pacific nations that sometimes when they want the man down, they tend to play their best rugby. I mean, South Africa has faced that before as well. But like I just think, for me, yes, they lost, but it just seems like and that's definitely the side who could actually have a lot to say in that particular group.
Yeah. Where did you watch the pocket?
I watch it home, Chief. I had submissions. I've got submissions today.
This man.
I decided to watch it at home.
Where did you watch?
Yeah, I also watched it at home.
Why is everybody watching at home?
I mean, for me, it's a matter of, like, if I can, then, because what was hindering me at first was because I didn't have the package on DSTV. So now the fact that
But SABC's got you, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I watched it at.
Tell this man. He's got the rugby pass. He had the package of both World Cups. He knows. Ask him. He's got powers there by
the higher ups.
But the reason why I ask is because, I mean, most of the Bob games, particularly in the pool stages, are on a Sunday. So the Monday bodies are going to be very, very destroyed if the Boks are playing on a Sunday every weekend.
I think Cooks used to say it's not a good day to be a beer today.
No.
It just feels like Sundays. It's not a good day to be a beer around the country because it will go down.
The cold ones will be flying there.
Yeah, but because I enjoyed seeing, because I mean you watch on television, you see the different build-ups. Six had a build-up in Zweden.
That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it looked fantastic because of the amount of people that come out. But the nice thing about a Rugby World Cup or any like global tournament, especially where South Africa is participating.
Rugby, Chief. Let's be specific.
But okay, rugby.
Let's not get it twisted. The build-ups are different.
There's so many like the camaraderie and the fan aspect of it is beautiful.
It is. Sometimes some of us I have a cricket background and it's just like I always say this, it is absolutely amazing to see how this country unites around the Springboks. And again, it was Bok Friday and most companies around the country, people were wearing their Springbok shirts. They found a way. Either they were praying. There was those company functions happening all around the country, and everyone is saying the Springboks are playing on Sunday. It's amazing to see how united we all get, and of course to have would have had. We had that build-up as we did. That was also cool to see another side of the game as well, which is important where Sia comes from. To see the people that have, sometimes we forget that rugby in this country, you'll find it in every corner of South Africa. And it's truly amazing to see how everyone unites with or behind the box. And I think it's only going to build up. I think everyone had their fingers crossed because you're like, New Zealand, there was an upset on day one. Let's not be part of this game. I'm going to butcher this one. Match day one.
Match day one.
Match day one.
I think it comes to another question in my mind now that I'm thinking of it, because I saw a lot of sentiments on social media where people were saying rugby is still an elite sport played by the minority in this country. So the guy was mentioning the fact that it's only certain people, certain groups of people that still play rugby in this country, and that's why. And he was making the point or a reason why SABC doesn't necessarily want to go and buy the rights for it. And it got me thinking, because he was saying it's mostly people from the Eastern Cape that watch it. If you're not Xhosa, you're probably not going to. If your ethnicity isn't Xhosa, you're probably not going to be watching rugby or playing rugby. And he said also white people are obviously the more dominant of the race that shows interest and plays rugby. So it was an interesting point, which I obviously didn't agree with, because rugby in this country has grown to not only Xhosa speaking people or white people in this country. There's the likes of Trevor Nyakane, who is in Xhosa. Sibungosi is in Xhosa. Opa Mohoje is not Xhosa. Kabamba Floors was never Xhosa. So there was a big demographic, and all of these people that I've mentioned are Springboks. So they would have shown interest in rugby in their communities before, making it to the highest level. So there is interest from a lot of South Africans and most South Africans in this country in rugby, and not just a select few or elite few. And he was also making the point of middle class people being able or having access to rugby, and that's why they show interest in the sport, and not necessarily because they enjoy it.
I think it's been one team that has managed to, to be, accessed by everyone in this country, and I that's why I always speak highly in terms of how the Springbok side is relatable.
Yes.
They know their duty as a national team.
Yes.
They know that South Africa at times may go through difficulties, but they know what little that they can do on the field can unite us for that moment.
Yeah.
Could be 80 minutes where the whole nation is focused on one thing.
Yeah.
And then Monday hits, we think about load shedding.
Yeah.
We think about corruption,
Yeah.
all the other stuff that happened, which is... it's just a nice escape, but I think they understand their responsibility to the country. And I honestly, when I look at the other national teams, I think it's probably one thing that you could look at and say, this is what these guys are doing well. How can we try to replicate what the Springboks do in terms of uniting the country? Because, again, I listened to post-match Garcia, and he was saying... because someone asked him, there's some people in Africa, they see you as an important figure, not just as a rugby person, but as an important figure in the continent. Yeah. And he had to remind us that the nice part about the Protea setup, Springbok setup, is that they've created a no ego environment. Yeah. And they are there to also with each other to say, hey, Chief, you're getting too big now. Calm down. Yeah. And you can't take that personally, because it's just a reminder when things are maybe getting so big. And also the culture of we, not I. Yeah. I think that was probably the most important part, is that you always think about the we, you're thinking about the team, you're thinking about other people who are obviously looking up to you. You're representing the badge. And again, I always say you are currently the custodian of the badge now, but your time will pass. Yeah. And someone else will be watching.
You gotta leave
so
it
it's
in
important
a great place.
that whilst you have, the shirt on you right now, it's important that you wear it with pride, make sure you represent it as well as you can. Because when you're done looking back on it, you're, what if I could have, all that other stuff. So, I just love how they handle themselves, and understanding how big and important they are for South Africa, even if it's for 80 minutes. Yeah,
I think it's a great segue to our cricket discussion, because I mean, when you look at it in contrast to how the Proteas are and how they've obviously performed in these games against Australia, it also plants a question in my mind that, how do people resonate and show faith and trust in the Protea brand when the results aren't always forthcoming?
Yeah.
People show faith and trust and backing to the Springboks because they know they've won 3 World Cups.
Yeah.
And how does cricket change that, Nons? I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but how does cricket change that? Because it's important to. I mean, these games are important against Australia.
Yeah.
But already people are still talking about how they're gonna bring up the choker word. I hate it, but it always sort of comes out. Even if we're playing bilateral cricket, we haven't even gone to a World Cup yet, but people are already saying that this Protea side won't win the World Cup. How does South Africa change that, though?
I mean, I watched New Zealand, England, their first ODI.
Yeah.
And I think it was NASA, they were speaking about different squads. Naturally, they said, yep, South African team looks good on paper.
Yeah.
They said this South African team looks good on paper. But again, we all know sport is not played on paper. You got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we really need to almost go back to, I'm going to say, basics.
Yeah.
And first of all, like I said, this Springbok side is relatable.
Yeah.
Is the story Saka Mampimpi?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when we first heard it, previous World Cup, made a lot of people cry. The coach to being genuine in terms of, guys, transformation is here to stay.
Yeah.
Transformation is here to stay, and I think the cricket community hasn't quite grasped that concept.
Yeah.
We still speak about transformation as something that we think that we still have a choice.
Yeah.
It's not a choice. It's something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the rugby has accepted the concept and kind of gone forward with it.
Yeah.
We mentioned when we were speaking about selection.
Yeah.
Springboks were they were talking about positions.
Yes.
How many like 10s are we going to have? How many, utility?
Yeah.
You're thinking in terms of position and just happen to be a certain
grace. Yeah.
And of course it helps when you've got a wide pool of really amazing players right now.
Yeah.
Mani Libo came basically in the last year to have basically gone through, and now he's starting in the World Cup. And when you think about the cricket side, again, I mentioned we still talk about individual first.
Yeah.
And for me, that we still have a long way to go if we picking. Okay, who's the best openers? Who's the best 3? Who's the best 4s, etc., all rounders? And that's where we need to go. But the most important part is making sure that, like I said, now it's about the we first.
Yeah.
It's about the we. How can we represent South Africa as best as we can? You get times where players are retiring just before World Cup.
Yep.
We don't understand what is happening behind the scene. A 30-year-old decides to retire. Yes, from 2 formats. He retired at Test cricket at 28, 50 over ODIs at 30. And it's most likely going to keep T20s because that's what keeps him relevant in the industry of T20. So there's a lot of questions, and communication is important because we harped on why it was important to play the younger players and bleed some younger players, because younger players also creating the next generation of players. Is that if we all of a sudden have guys retiring at the same time like we had with the Amlas, the Staines, Smiths, all those guys,
Careless.
It creates such a massive hole that we're probably still recovering from.
Yep.
We haven't quite gone past what just happened, and now guys are retiring even earlier.
Yeah.
Creates even bigger problems. So there is a need for us to always give opportunity to guys doing well in the domestic system so that we can try to grow our pool of players. I know I've said a lot in terms of hitting at different areas, but for me, how can we represent the badge as much as we can?
Yeah.
We are currently, I want to say we, like from a player's point of view, we are currently wearing the South African shirt. How best can I serve this Proteas side?
Yeah.
Making sure that we do everything that we can. Because at the end of the day, funny enough, all 3 teams played last week, basically. We know the Springboks get massive support.
Yeah.
Proteas, funny enough, even though the results are not where we would like them to be,
Still enjoy
it's still a good full house. Because it's not the same at Bafana Bafana right now.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So, but Bafana Bafana's performances have actually been good.
Yes.
But like the nation is basically, I don't know if we've given up or it's the wrong stadium that we're choosing to play.
Yeah.
But it's almost like it's gone.
Yeah.
Proteas still have that. But like the performances need to back, and the pride of wearing the shirt needs to be there. I'm not saying it isn't there, but it needs maybe a little uplifted even more. Go to the malls, go to the townships, and start like giving back to the people and showing people why it's important to play cricket. I think those things for me are I would be that path I'll be taking for Cricket South Africa. Go every corner of South Africa, take the national team to those corners, and making sure that now people get to see those players.
We were gonna touch on Bafana Bafana a little bit later, but I think you've brought it up a little bit, so I want to ask about it because, I mean, you did mention that they played this weekend. They played a friendly against Namibia, goalless draw, but it's what the backdrop looked like. Empty stadium at FNB Stadium. You were saying that you didn't even know that Bafana Bafana were playing. So how do we even fix those kind of things from a national point of view? Bafana Bafana is still a very important national identity, because when you look at it, football is probably the one of the biggest sports. I think I would say football is probably bigger than cricket in this country because of the following that it has. But it doesn't replicate to a national point of view. So, I mean, I've got a theory, and I'll definitely share my theory. I think SAFA at times, and that's at most times, they don't, like you were saying, they don't take the game at a national point of view, from a national product to the people. We're always playing at FNB Stadium. Why are we always playing at FNB Stadium? Why can't we go to Sisa Dukashe? We play there. Why can't we go and play a Bafana Bafana game at Princess Magogo? Princess Magogo is right in the community. I promise you'll have a far better attendance than you would see at FNB Stadium. So those are the things for me as well, that from a SAFA point of view, they tend to ignore, or I feel like it's easier for them to just put Bafana Bafana at the FNB Stadium, keep them there. Logistically, it's better for them. They don't have to spend enough that amount of money to take Bafana Bafana to the Princess Magogo Stadium or Sisa Tukashe or in Rustenburg at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium. So, but it's so important, because when you spend that money on that product, the return comes back tenfold, because the interest grows. People are able to attend a game at Princess Magogo, then a game at the FNB Stadium. So I think for me, those are the kind of focuses, and I mean, it applies also to cricket, like you were saying. Bring the game to the people, makes it a little bit easier for people to have the interest in the national identity of Bafana Bafana and the Proteas. So I think that for me, it doesn't look nice when you watch television and you see empty seats.
No.
You know, how do the players lift themselves up when they know that no one is watching them?
No. It's been very kind of difficult to end again. I mean, as a domestic player, I played a lot in front of basically 1,000 people at domestic level, and And then you get guys now where Mzansi, it went up. Mzansi Super League, you're playing in front of maybe 10,000.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now this is bigger. How do you handle those pressures of, playing in front of those? And
you lift your game, man.
You have to always find within yourself, obviously, to lift your game. But like it must be so difficult to be playing for your country. But again, there's a lot of stuff behind the scene that's happening. A lot of people are maybe not happy with, because we can't complain about pricing. It's not pricing.
No.
Because the price, it was about $40-$50 tickets, and people are still not going.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not a pricing issue.
Yeah.
Again, our suffer having studies looking into these things and actually asking the fans, why are you not coming to the stadium? Again, I think it's similar to probably cricket at domestic levels. Like why? Because we saw at SA20 people were coming. So they're not quite coming for the normal domestic product, but they're coming for SA20. So why
is there a big gap?
Why is there a big gap? So again, SAFA needs to do that study, kind of figure out does it go back to the stadia part? Maybe we playing so many games in the at F&B, or we could be going, to different parts of the country and start like taking the game to the people. So, a lot of questions, but like it's so difficult because like you've got this one Springboks which even corporate South Africa gets behind. You can see, but like it's almost like on TV right now. Yeah. Which ads do you see? But there are 2 World Cups back to back. There are 2 World Cups back to back. What do you see?
Only Springboks.
What do you see?
Only Springboks.
They've completely the same corporates when it comes to next month, October. Yeah. We're not going to have a Protea Friday.
No.
We're not going to have that. So, yes, of course, we all want to be part of a winning. I think the winning part is what everyone is relating to. And I think how they conduct themselves, of course. But, like, the other federation needs to have a look saying why
Bafana Fridays or Bafana Mondays or whatever it is, but grow a concept that pulls people towards the brand. And ultimately, I mean, you speak on something so important. Corporates play a big role in terms of backing federations and giving them the financial muscle to be able to do that. But if it doesn't start internally to say, guys, this is what we want to do, this is the people we kind of want to attract. Yes. How do we get there? How do we attract, a Nono Pongolo who comes from, not Bishops, from Kwalanga, comes from Kwalanga, and he shows interest in this. But how do we keep him hooked on this product? How do we keep a Sia who comes from maybe Constantia or somewhere, So those are the talking points, and the studies are so important to find out the reasons why people sort of get drawn to a certain product.
We both covered the SA20, for example. I know we jump in different conversations here. And first of all, I've never had so many people asking me for domestic tickets like the SA20. Yeah. Domestic tickets. Proteas already it started for Sunday. Yeah. People have started. It's normal. You get that when it comes to
a national team,
right? And different crowd or audience was coming to the SA20. Yeah. People that you have. I mean. Between our stints, I used to walk around the stadium, and I'm like, I've never seen. I mean, I've basically been at Wanderers as a player, and then now as a commentator. You get familiar with a certain crowd that comes to watch the game. SA20, all of a sudden, there's different audience, and I asked the question. It's like, why? Yeah, because I've never seen it in cricket before. Yeah, and they'll say, no, it's vibes. We saw those good vibes, and I think obviously marketing was massive for SA20. Was huge, and it attracted a different audience to the games, and it just shows you how important, but basically my point is that SA20 also did a study on themselves. Yes. Afterwards, and said what worked, what didn't work. So they figured out, for example, obviously there's 75% of the games, I think 75 if not more, were sold. And already they said after they've conducted that study, they said, okay, afternoon games or late evening games on
Probably
Sunday don't work.
Yeah.
Don't work. They said
work.
they don't work. So we're going to cut that out.
Yeah.
So all the games are going to be played before a certain time on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And yes, the schedule last year was impacted by that tour of England in the middle. So they'll be able to almost like not compress the tournament as much as they did last year, where during the week there were like double headers or something silly like that, where now at least they can
have more room.
Weekends, your double headers, maybe during the week, maybe one game late in the evening, so that people can come from work. So these are the things that are important that you constantly have to do. Understand what your audience is telling you. It's what's not working, because you can have the best of ideas, but the people that are there to
you depend on that.
Enjoy the game and watch the game, saying no, we don't want that. We want this, and then you got to obviously make adjustments and try to accommodate that. And that's what I also just wanted to share, a little bit of that, how important it is to always keep yourself in check, because you can have the best of ideas, but if your audience are not happy, you got to make those adjustments.
Let's go back to the field. We've spent a lot of time speaking about, and it's a great discussion, because I think everybody should be having that kind of discussion on how do we improve our national products, so that all three of them and more, because it's not only cricket, rugby, and football.
Netball is amazing.
Netball is amazing. There's a lot of
cricket. Women's cricket was amazing to see what happened there. So there are amazing things that are happening around as well in other sports.
So Proteas women played their first one-day international against Pakistan at the National Stadium in Karachi. Great bounce back from the Momentum Proteas, because of what happened in the T20s, whitewashed in the T20s, and then come into the one-day series. You kind of facing an uphill battle when you haven't had the success that you probably wanted to. And I think we spoke about it in terms of how much of the experience has been taken out of that Momentum Proteas side, and therefore the performances in the T20s, the half of the performance wasn't good, but the other half was good. The other half that didn't work particularly well was the bowling. The other half that worked very well was the batting, and we could see it come back into the one-day internationals. And I think the our strength at the moment is definitely our batting, and to be able to put on, what was the score,
292 for 4,
292 for 4. That's a very, very good total. I think it might have been a record as well for a women's game at the National Stadium in Karachi. And that's great to see from a South African point of view. Sune Lus and Marizanne Kapp getting hundreds in that game. Sune Lus and Marizanne Kapp very much different in how they went about accumulating their runs. Marizanne Kapp more aggressive, more up with a higher strike rate. And converting nicely. With Sune probably a little bit of a nerdler and a nudger, but still accumulating at a good rate to get herself to that milestone. But I was also very impressed with the bowling as well. I thought the bowling, particularly on a surface like that, and we spoke a lot about the surfaces in Pakistan, very flat, very conducive for batting. So you kind of either have to be good with pace and have X-factor pace in your bowling lineup, or have bowlers who think about utilizing their variations quite well. I thought, the Protea bowlers really did that well on that surface, and not allowed the Pakistani batters to have the freedom of playing their shots on a very good surface like that. And the lack of pace in the South African lineup actually worked to their advantage on that surface. And just bowling tighter lines and picking up those wickets crucially. I mean, when you put 292 on the board, 293 on the board, there's already scoreboard pressure, so it puts pressure on the batters to try and go out and achieve a certain rate from the onset. And that was good from a South African point of view, that they didn't allow the Pakistani batters to get off to a flying start, and they kept on picking up wickets, which is a huge confidence booster to this Momentum Proteas side, to give themselves the belief that they can get 10 wickets, particularly in a one-day game.
Yeah, you probably summed it up really well, because I think this side at the moment is more of a 50 over side.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that not because I'm trying to be saying they're nowhere. I just feel the skill set that they have right now
Keeps
it's
them
not
in
your
the
massive.
Yeah, keeps them in the game longer.
Yeah. And there's been a couple of losses as well. Your players that are very good at T20 cricket.
Yeah.
And right now, we've got a lot of accumulators. Laura is an accumulator, quality player. And Sune comes into that conversation as well, because she hardly batted in the T20s. And they were batting a lower. So that means they were looking for other players who could maybe, with more firepower to come in and help there. So this team at the moment is more suited for 50 over cricket. And it just shows you the importance of experience, because South Africa, there's a couple of starts. I mean, Laura went out for 17 of 15 balls. Tasmin Brits, 17 of 9 balls. Laura...
Goodall.
Yeah, Goodall went out for 15 as well. So it was a couple of starts, kind of shaky for that moment. And then 100 for Sune of 82 strike rate, 107. Marizan Cup 100 of 105, 95 strike rate. So it just shows you a massive partnership of 183 or so. So what's important is when you get in, you make use of that opportunity, and that's what's really good to see from that point of view, because I just think everything is geared for the 50 over side, and they need to really work hard to start finding some T20 players are going to be dynamic,
impactful
in T20, take games away, because it's becoming a big loss to have lost the players that they've recently retired. Bowling is steady. I think the bowling will always be steady because the type of bowlers that you have is your medium paces. You know exactly what you're going to get. Kapi is going to look to shape the ball. Masabata class, steady, wicket to wicket. And I think they're just bowling to their strengths, making it hard. Of course, Umlaba, I think, is the one who you mentioned. I think probably our first one did well in T20 cricket. But now is starting to take some of that form to 50 over cricket, because she's going to become the most important partner of that team, because she offers something different, left arm spin. And I think with her stock rising, her getting more confidence, I think, South Africa will rely more and more on her to start taking wickets, because, like I said, we're still missing that X factor when it comes to the bowling.
I love the combination between her and Delmi Taka as well, because they really bowled well as the two spinners. Also, I mean, it's finger spin, but they provide something different in terms of left arm, right arm. And they really press the Pakistani batters to try and do something else, take more risks, and it worked to their advantage. So, very good start from a Momentum Proteas point of view in that one-day series.
Yeah, it had to be, because both sides copped 3-0 in the T20s, so it's important. You mentioned the Proteas. This week is a massive week for the men's side. Because we've got all 3 games this week. They need to come back. And also, I think, for the South African audience as well, and I'm sure a lot of people are asking a lot of questions. This team is going, the men's side is going to the World Cup, but like the form is not looking good, and where what needs to happen for me? What's glaring is how poor we're starting with the ball. Because I think from the first game, I expected the intent from Quentin de Kock and Temba to grow. It's almost like we start slowly.
Yeah.
T20 we started slowly. There was no idea how we wanted to go. Australia showed us how they want to go. Australia in the last game went bang, 102 runs in a power play. 102 runs in a power play. And I was covering the game, and I was like, it's David Warner and Travis Head did not need to do anything extraordinary. They didn't. They just fed off our poor bowling.
Yeah.
And what I love so far in the South African camp, they've got Eric Simons, who's been in the IPLs for, with Chennai Super Kings. And I speak a lot with Kami Mfuneko Ngam about bowling. And he was tight. He was part of the, Nelson Mandela in the Mzansi Super League.
Yeah. Giants.
The Giants at the time, where he was the bowling coach for the Giants, with Eric Summers being the head coach. So I got a lot, we chatted a lot about what they were looking to do at the Giants and his style of coaching. And it's going to be a lot of work for Eric too, because it just seems like the Proteas bowling lineup, each person has their unique way of bowling, and instead of having a team plan. Because when we talk about batting, we always talk about what is the way the Proteas are looking to bat. We're not basing it on the individual.
Yes.
And bowling as well. Bowling is not just your individual. Yes, you've got your individual attributes.
Yes.
But the team plan, in terms of, are we going to stay tight on off stump?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to be aggressive in terms of our lines and lanes on off stump?
Yeah.
Making sure that we don't offer width. Because what does David Warner and Travis Head want? Width. And what did we offer? With. It makes Temba Bavuma's job so difficult, because if you've got a bowler that is not executing, as a captain, you can make 20 changes on the field. It doesn't matter. You look bad because it seems like you've got no clue, but as a captain, your bowler makes you look gun.
Yeah.
But if your bowler is not executing, you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the difficulty just watching is just each individual is kind of bringing. And when you watch the Aussies, they are very clear. They are very clear. We're going to hit the deck. We're not going to give you width. If you're going to take a good ball and hit it for 6, well done to you. But like most of the time, we're going to be on the stumps. And I think that's kind of the plan South Africa needs to go to.
You speak about Eric Simons being the bowling coach in that camp. There's talk, obviously, about the Proteas trying to get him to do it in a more extended role going into the World Cup, because it's going to be important to have that extra sort of knowledge in terms of bowling, because we didn't have one going
T20.
We
had what Quinton Friend was the Dolphins coach who was roped in.
Yeah. So we're gonna need that, especially in conditions that Eric Simons knows pretty well from years of working in the IPL. But I also want to shift towards some of the injuries that are happening in the camp as well. Makala, we haven't seen at all in this series in the T20s, and of course those two first one-day internationals. Major doubt on him and his fitness and his availability. They keep calling it an acute knee injury. I don't know what acute is. You're a player. I don't know. Have you ever had an acute knee injury?
I had 2 injuries my whole life in professional environment. I had my elbow.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I can't remember, but fractured my thumb. That's it. Acute what knee? I don't know what's happening there.
Because it's a concern. And then now, there's news of Andrich Nokia having back spasms. He's gonna go for scans later in the week to determine his fitness. Those are 2 very key bowlers in South Africa's cause, because we speak about the individual attributes that they bring. Each bowler brings. Andrich Nokia, high pace, has the ability to trouble players. Magala, accurate, but also has good change ups. So how do we fill those? Let's speak now hypothetically about them possibly missing the World Cup, because if a Magala hasn't played in this series at all, both the T20s and the one-days, his place is very much at jeopardy.
Yeah.
And then you have a guy breaking down by playing just one day international, um, and having to go for scans. That also places him in a very precarious position because we don't know what the scans might reveal. So let's speak from a hypothetical point of view about probably not having a Magala and a Nokia for India, and that's huge. Where do we go from there? Because then we were banking on Gerald Kutsia, who's 3 or 4 games in.
Yeah, I think probably a good starting point would be the coach said he wants 4 out and out
Paces. Yeah.
So if you look at the Proteas squad, right, that's been announced. Probably better if you look at the squad that's been announced. Is that Ulokozana, Makala, Angidi, Nokia, Rabada, Kutsia, Janssen. 6. Good pace, right? And if you're going to now take
2 of them out.
2 of those out of the 6, that means you got to go to domestic cricket last minute
To look for.
someone who's going to bowl 135 plus.
There's no Parnell.
There's no Parnell. So who are you bringing last minute? Because also you haven't given that person time. This is why I say important to bleed in other formats, because the fact that you played someone in that T20 cricket, maybe you've given that person 20 caps. When they move to the other format of the Proteas, it's not necessarily new into the environment.
Yeah.
You've experienced international cricket.
Yeah.
And this is something that South Africa has been guilty of, is that we don't invest long term with certain players. Get you used to the international, because everyone says, yeah, international is different. We know it's different, but how can you help your pool of players to get familiar with the standards of international cricket? And right now, whomever they look to get right now, last minute, is not going to be the same, because now they haven't played enough. The pressures of international cricket. Playing in India, we know the Indian fields are generally smaller than what we used to.
100,000
So
fans.
massive, stadiums. That means, 80, 50,000, 100,000. Now there's that pressure. So it's so difficult. They tried obviously to bring Andile back, which is something that I've been harping on about. Like, they should have been investing more and more. But it's not 135 plus.
Yeah.
So it's that question for me, is that now they're sitting in a situation where they might be forced to take those guys and hope that they get fit, because they've put themselves in a corner.
Yeah. Let's just throw around names. I mean, there's no harm in throwing around names that potentially can go if these guys don't recover enough and they don't show any signs of recovering at the World Cup as well. You replace a Nokia with who? Lazard Williams has tasted international cricket, both formats, or all 3 formats. Outside of him, okay, they've brought in Andile, but those guys aren't exactly like for like. So do you go like for like, or do you bring in guys who bring in a different kind of skill set?
So, I mean, you think about it, here at the Lions, you've got Luto Sipamla, who's been in that setup. Yeah. And then you go to the Titans, you've got Lizard, you've mentioned. Yeah. And then you go to the Dolphins, Batman.
Ontas.
You go to Cape Town, you've got
Darren de Pavilion is also...
You've got Buren
Hendricks
in Cape Town, who's also played in the IPL.
Yeah.
So, again, it just depends which way are you looking. But, again, none of those guys are close to Anuk Nokia's pace. Yeah. Sisanda Magala can bowl at 140, 145 as well. So it just depends what you're looking for. But when it comes to the out and out pace of it, you're not going to get it. Yeah. You're not going to get it. I mean, Gluto has been in that setup, so at least he kind of familiar with the pressures of that environment. So it will be interesting, but I do think they'll persist with him because, I mean, the nice part, we saw Sisana Magala walking on the field, doing the drinks. I don't think it's something that could be
serious enough,
severe if, I mean, he was doing the 12-man duties. I'm not sure how. Maybe they're being cautious right now to obviously make sure that they build it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, also it's a big week for them because
massive.
I mean, this is potentially their last week of real good competitive cricket until
those 2 warm-up games.
Yeah, until those 2 warm-up games in India.
I've got a question for you. I think we can probably admit first game was probably not great from a batting front, right? Temba was by himself.
Yeah.
Was amazing, 100. Continues the year that he's had with the bat in 2023 in ODIs. And then you've got 3 games this week.
Yeah.
All of them had starts. I think 4 guys at 47, 49,
yeah.
49.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily bad performances. Is that the difference between the 2 sides in the second game is that Australia went big.
Yeah.
David Warner scored 100. Okay, Travis Head got a 70.
Yeah.
And
Manus
then
got
Manus
100.
does Manus things.
Yeah.
He scored 100.
Yeah.
Right? The difference between the sides. And they had 2 massive partnerships. They had a 100 partnership up top, and then they had a 150 partnership. I can tell you, those 2 partnerships you destroy opposition by having 2 massive partnerships because everyone else, imagine coming after 10 overs. The score, that's why Mitch Marsh played that silly shot, first ball. 102 after the power play. You're thinking, platform, freedom for days. It's freedom for days. That's why you play a reverse sweep first ball, because you've got the freedom. You wouldn't do that if it's 10 for 1.
Yeah.
So that's that. South Africa need massive partnerships. Every time you watch this Proteas team, it's like, okay, we're about to wicket.
Yeah.
And they're like, here we go again. And then again, partnership.
Wicket.
So that's the difference between the sides at the moment, is that we're just not finding massive partnership, guys making the right decisions at the right time. Don't take the risk early, knowing that 50 over cricket is, for me, it's probably a harder format than T20. I say this because you've got 30 overs, only 4 players on the
ring.
On the ring. Oh no, outside.
The ring,
Outside. You have 30 overs where you have 4, and I can promise you, it's so difficult because you're constantly having to make a decision.
Yeah.
Which guy am I bringing up? And the batters, like I said, the 30 overs. So it's just guys making the right decisions for longer. Don't feel the need that if I get a 6 now, I mean, 84. South Africa had 84 in the power play, which is still a massive power play.
Good.
Massive power play. So that means now, yes, you are, let's say,
3 or 4
30
down.
runs behind Australia after the power play, which is fine. You can make up some of those runs in the middle overs.
Yeah.
Between 11 and 40 where you can catch up. And I just felt that the decision making, because we ended up losing, was at 90, 97 for 1.
Yeah.
And then it was like 120 for 4.
For 4, yeah.
And like now you are...
You have to work harder.
Proper chasing, especially when we don't have the all-rounders like England does in the latter over. And that's, I think, again, I've been saying it's 6, 7, 8, including a 9.
Very, very important.
So important.
Yeah.
And we're currently lacking it.
Marco Jansen's bubbling under, though, because his performances with the bat have come up nicely.
He's coming too early.
Yeah, but he's coming way too early.
He's coming too early. You're spot on.
Yeah.
He's coming at most of the time, 25 overs.
It's a long time to bat.
You can't have your 7 coming in halfway. So now, the reason, I'm not saying he can't bat for that long. The reason is it holds him back for too long. So now he has to make sure that whereas, I mean, I even said it on comms. I said, I would have preferred Andile, Marco Jansen to come in the last 10.
Yeah.
David Miller, and I think it was 2 overs when I said that. We lost the wicket. Klaasen went. And I said, like, now I just put South Africa. Because, I mean, yes, it's a big score, but South Africa wasn't that far off in terms of you look at the different stages when you compare them to Australia. But the massive part was the wickets. And if Miller and Klaasen partnership gets them to 38, 39, 40, and Janssen has to deal with 12 overs, then he can also play a bit of freedom, knowing that, I mean, there's not many overs that he needs to take care of, but now you're asking him to take care of 25 overs and not make a mistake. There's a reason why he bats 7.
Yes, there is.
There is a reason why he bats 7. There is a mistake in him.
Yeah.
Because the lower you go, there is a mistake. Whereas, so, yeah, it's just trying to figure out some of those, how South Africa will fix that. My question to you, by the way, was, what do you do with Reza this week? Because Reza hasn't played since the T20. He is the backup batter. He is the only backup batter. The reason why I asked that question is that the team didn't necessarily make the batting performance was okay. It wasn't great. So now, do you make the change now to also give him game time, or what do you do?
I think it's an important question, but then it becomes a selection debacle. Who do you go with? Who sits out? I probably look at de Kock as somebody that probably would sit out. You've got the luxury of Heinrich Klaasen who can keep wicket, so you have him keep wicket with Reza at the top to give him that run before the World Cup. But it's difficult. I don't see a scenario where Reza Hendricks plays in this series, particularly. Probably at the World Cup for those 2 warm-up games, and that's pretty much it.
Australia have made changes in each game.
Yeah.
Australia have made changes in each game.
Yeah.
Hazelwood played first game.
Yep.
Second game didn't play. Aaron Hardy? Zampa was amazing in the game.
Tim David played the second.
Tim David played. So again, I'm going back again to, if you guys must remember what I said in rugby earlier on. It feels like some of our decisions, we're making it on the individual.
Yeah. And not because the benefit of the future.
Because you're right. It could be Quinny. It could be Rassie.
Yeah.
It could be Aiden.
Yeah.
It could be Temba.
Yeah.
Temba has played 5 games in a row now. You can say, okay, you've had 5 games in a row. Thank you very much. Let's also give Reza a go at maybe at his favorite position, opening, or at the next one will be Rassie at 3.
At 3, yeah.
Because, like, again, you're not going to win the World Cup
with
now.
only these players.
But, like, it just feels like, because, like, the difficulty, the reason why I asked the question, because the difficulty is, like, sometimes when I look at the batting lineup, it's like, where is the change going to come from?
Yeah.
Because it just feels like that batting lineup, it's set. And Reza is only there in case of an injury.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, it's like, what is the plan with Reza Hendricks? Because we need to give him a chance as well. Now, his 50-over format recently hasn't been his best format for the Proteas. So he also needs to have some confidence, because if we pick up an injury on World Cup day,
throwing him in
you can't be throwing him in the Wolves and saying, go and perform, when you haven't given them the platform as well. So I think he needs to play this week. And have a look and see what, and obviously give him confidence as well.
I think that's enough for cricket. We've expanded quite a bit in cricket. Important week, very much important week. Don't forget, obviously, get your tickets for that final game here at the DP World Wanderers. It's gonna be a really good. It's probably the last game that the Proteas are gonna play on South African soil before they go to the World Cup. So you don't want to miss that. There's a lot of other permutations that could come into that final game. So please get your tickets. They're still very much available. Ticket Pro, right, Lunga? Ticket Pro, yeah, Ticket Pro. Bring the family. Nice day out, iconic stadium to come and watch cricket.
Give them. The field is looking green, guys.
Yeah,
it's looking green. It's September.
It's very good. It's nice. It's watered. It's nice. It's nicely watered.
Painted or watered?
It's watered.
It's watered.
Formula One is back this weekend.
Yeah.
Your favorite sport?
Singapore, right? Singapore.
Yeah, your favorite sport.
I don't know what's gonna happen, mate.
Max Verstappen is going to win.
Yeah. Well,
That's the obvious part of.
That's a fact. No, but it's good to have F1 back. Yeah, sometimes when it's gonna be difficult this weekend. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah.
If the Springboks play on Sunday,
there's Proteas
on Sunday.
Springboks on Sunday. Formula
We're
One
working
on Sunday
as well.
We're working on Sunday. We're here on Sunday.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Singapore. I'm looking forward to obviously being back. It's just my team. Can we back it up? I'm not going to focus on the one spot. It's given. We all know. But again, I won't lie. It was nice to see Perez. But tomorrow, Ulung, I'm sure, can back me up here. What is the Red Bull timer there? Who's the consultant?
Christian Horner.
No, not Christian.
Oh, the older guy, the technical guy. Yeah.
He's been causing a lot of havoc behind the scenes.
What is he saying in the news then?
I think it's something about Perez. If I got a
must ship out.
He can ship out, which is like, it's odd how he's been speaking. But like, I mean, obviously, if you're gonna have a fast car, you expect both drivers to be 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Perez, I think his confidence is coming back again, which is good. Would be nice to get some victories, and we stop the count, stop the bleeding, because it's 10 now.
Right.
It's 10.
It's not going to stop.
Who are you giving a chance this weekend in Singapore, bro?
It's definitely Max Verstappen. But sorry, I just have a side question. It's just like the top of my mind.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite track to watch in terms of F1? Your favorite track in a season? And, okay, maybe the first question. Which track would you take out for Kyalami to go in, for Kyalami to replace? Second question. Sorry, cricket. Your favorite stadium in terms of an atmosphere to... And you got to be careful of your sponsor.
Yeah.
But those two questions.
Like that second question needed an answer from me.
Yeah, you go first, actually.
Yeah? Okay.
JB Marks.
JB Marks over.
JB Marks.
JB Marks. Nope.
Not JB Marks.
I think as a Cape Townian, a lot of people kind of expect me to say
Newlands.
Yeah. I enjoy playing at Newlands because we're playing in front of family and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it suits my style playing at Newlands, of bowling, that is. And I always enjoyed bowling at Newlands. It's bigger than this ground, and it's harder to hit the ball because it's bigger ground.
Yeah.
And of course, being
altitude,
at altitude versus sea level.
Yeah.
Sea level, they've got to work hard to hit me for 6 at Newlands. So I've always enjoyed that. So white ball cricket there, I tended to bowl better because of mixing it up. It was harder, so I enjoyed Cape Town. But in terms of atmosphere, I mean, I didn't play. One final I didn't play in was the CSA 50 over, which we won. And then the other one was the MSL, which basically was one-sided.
Yes.
In terms of final, definitely the bull ring.
Yeah.
Because I think the most that I've ever played in front of was 10,000 people.
Yes.
And that felt like 30,000 at the bull ring. There's a bull ring for a reason, because the fans are like on top of you.
On top of you, yeah.
And it's literally like the fans on top of you. And when I took a $5 here as well, I cried because on TV, bloody hell, man. Because it's just got so emotional. A lot of people. It was just an epic environment. This is the place for me.
Did you cry when you hit my shot?
I cried, bro.
Did you cry when you hit my shot?
No, too much shots. Nah. You see,
what is that? What was that piece of commentary when you hit my shot for 6?
It was nil, man.
He's done the unthinkable. No, Bolo.
2 of 12, mates.
Yeah.
1 with 2 balls to spare.
Favorite track and why?
Favorite track?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's going to be hard. I think Prestige, Monaco, but like Monaco is so boring. It is so boring. I think Monza is amazing. Silverstone is cool. I like the fast ones. Azerbaijan is cool because it's fast.
Yeah.
So I would take away one of the street races. Some of them, I'm not sure which one. Even Abu Dhabi is just slow and not great.
I'm going Abu Dhabi is my favorite because
No.
it's a night race also. Like
Yeah, but I mean,
I like
but it's
the Abu Dhabi night race aspect to it because obviously it's hot as hell in Abu Dhabi, but I feel like it's just it brings a different perspective to the season. You know, you're racing under lights, not quick, but it's just another different aspect to it. The lights and the glitter and the glam looks nice on me.
glitz and the glam.
I'm a
You
glitz
must
and
answer,
glam,
Chief. What's yours? Because you must also give us yours. Because you
Yeah.
can't ask the question and vacate the scene.
I think in terms of racing, it's definitely which do we come from now? Not
Monza.
Spielberg.
Monza.
No, I hate Monza. I hate the fast tracks because the fast cars just pull away. You know, not saying that I like the small one, Monty. You mentioned it now with the glitz and the glam, with the
Oh, yeah,
Ferraris
the-
and the
that,
Bugattis,
Monte
Monte
Carlo,
Carlo.
yeah.
Monte Carlo, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Monaco.
Monaco, sorry, yeah. I would love for Monaco to be dropped, but I know heritage and history and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And then for us, Joburg, to be in that spot.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to happen.
I don't know if we should have 3 American races. That's
Yeah,
one
one
of
of
them
them
must
has to
go.
go.
They must make a decision. What they
Same for
want.
me. Same for me.
Austin, Las Vegas
Yeah.
now, and
It's going to be Austin then out. Because you're not going to... Miami is the other
Miami.
one. Yeah.
Because Austin is a proper racetrack. The other two are.
Hey, but they fancy, eh? Miami and Las Vegas.
Did you see the tickets, guys?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you see? Hey,
It's
man.
crazy. It's crazy.
I forget. There's no.
crazy.
The South Africans that are going there are South Africans that are already there.
Yes. It's not South Africans that
It's
are
Trevor
that
Noah
live
and the
here.
gang there.
Yeah.
It's not the ones from. Because now, Tina, we must divide before we go there.
I know a girl that went to the Abu Dhabi. I think this year. She went to Abu Dhabi. Very, very cool experience. She came back and she was like, "Yeah,
I would love to go to Abu Dhabi.
yeah, awesome experience." But I mean, we really don't need 3 American races.
No. Zandvoort was nice. I like the banking at
Oh,
Zandvoort.
that's my favorite one. Yes, the corners,
Banking
100%.
at Zandvoort.
Yeah,
Zandvoort is
yeah.
like
That's
what
the
makes
one.
it cool. And when it started raining, it was like another
Yeah.
span to the world.
Element to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Monza was cool. Zandvoort, I like the fast tracks where you can make passes. I think passes are important.
Yeah.
You can overtake.
Yeah.
But like Monaco, the slow ones, Abu Dhabi, certain places where you can overtake. Kailami, we need to find a way.
We need to find a way. One of the American races needs to go. Honestly, they've got too many.
Obviously, it's the biggest market now.
Yeah,
that,
yeah, it's a big
they
market, but-
trying to tap into. Because I know in Las Vegas as well, is not by US. It's actually F1
Yeah.
doing that race
Yeah.
themselves, similar to Miami.
Yeah.
Where they basically, so that's why obviously they need to make money back. The tickets are crazy.
Yeah.
Your favorite stadium?
Favorite cricket stadium? Yo,
St. George's.
I mean, I grew up watching cricket there, so St. George's for me is
Not Buffalo, eh?
No, I've only actually been to Buffalo Park twice ever in my life. Twice only, and that was, I think one was a cricket week, and then the other 2 times actually was when the Proteas played earlier this year against the West Indies. So I've never actually really gone to Buffalo Park, so I don't regard it as one of my favorite. But St. George's Park, I played there for the university in the T20 competitions. Really nice ground. The only thing that annoys me about St. George's is the wind. Like it pumps in. It comes in from that one corner.
Yeah.
It comes in from that one corner and it
From
throws
the
you
sea
off. And it just throws you off. So that's the only sort of pet peeve about St. George's. I love the boring, and it's not because we're here doing this podcast here, but since I've moved and lived in Joburg, it's just a different kind of atmosphere. You a lot of the games as a journalist you cover obviously
Yeah.
from the
It's a really
from,
nice view.
yeah, from that view, from the media box, and that's
I've got
beautiful.
a funny, interesting story. There's a guy here at the back,
Yeah.
Vian Mulder,
Yeah.
and we're playing at St. George's. And you know the band always,
Yeah.
and this particular game is a T20 game, and we're doing well. I think we lost the game in the fun. We got yonkered. Let me just call it that.
Yeah.
Christian Yonker,
Yeah.
just clean us up at the end. I think it was one of my earlier games. And you know the band. Yeah, you know, and the whole day you're just hearing the band in your ear. There was the Bye Bye Lions.
Yes.
Bye Bye Lions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we lost the game. And like, obviously, it's a game that probably before we went to those dying overs, we should have won.
Yeah.
Third Yonker pulled off a Yonker type of innings, and we lose the game. So now we go to the change room, and the change room is dead quiet.
You can hear a pin drop.
It's dead quiet. It's under Jeff at the time. So like now, just like we just lost the game that we should have won. And we're about to close it off. So you close it off. The coach will have a speech in terms of maybe what happened. So as the coach starts talking, Vian Mulder is busily whistling, like he's not hearing himself. He's whistling in the team chat. Bye bye, lads. It's like, dude, what are you doing? The whole day it's been like in his ear. And he was busy whistling in front of the team. I was like, what is this youngster doing? Because, bye bye lines. I was like, I'll never forget. Like, and it just shows you how that band just slowly eats away. I love it. They play a massive role, guys. It's real. They play a massive role in St. George's.
It's a proper ground. I mean, the Australians hate it because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the English basically during a test match, they wanted the band to stop. They wanted the band to like, hey, chief, like
you can't tell us to stop.
No, the English like to tell us the vuvuzela and all the other stuff. But St. George's always the band is always amazing.
No, gun ground. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Don't forget, big shout out to first the South African. Let me start with the South African, the tennis.
Khotatso Munchane. We almost forgot about that. We're not finished actually because Khotatso Munchane won the US Open doubles final. She's a US Open doubles Grand Slam winner. That's amazing because, and what's disheartening about it, and I think somebody mentioned it on social media as well, is that we only hear about Khotatso Munchane when she does well. We never hear that she's going to US Open or to Wimbledon or she's won a match at US Open or Wimbledon or wherever. We only hear when she's won. And I think it's a narrative that we need to try and change from a South African media point of view because we only know and take...
follow.
Yeah. We need to follow, the wheelchair tennis a little bit better because, I mean, she's been doing this for years now. It's not her first rodeo. And I think that's very important to make sure that we follow Khotatso and give her that as support. I know she gets a lot of backing from corporate in terms of her travel and all the stuff that she needs to go and compete. But from a publicity point of view, from a fan engagement point of view, from spreading the game point of view, our media needs to take a bigger responsibility in making sure that there are some people that are doing it, but I think we need a bigger media following of a person like Khotatso Munchane because she does it fantastically well. She's one of the people that brings or puts South Africa on the map to say that we still do excel. As much media that Kevin Anderson got when he was still playing. So we need that kind of following. We need that kind of media coverage on Khotatso Munchane because if you're a US Open winner, you're doing very well.
Yeah, it's Limpopo's finest.
Yes.
I said on comms the cricket the other day. I said KG Limpopo's finest. You can maybe say Khotatso is Limpopo's finest because I mean I'm saying Australia Open. I'm just looking at a record.
Yeah.
Australian Open semi-final.
Yep.
2000, 2001, 2002.
Yep.
French Open semi-final 2013, 2021, 2022.
Yep.
Wimbledon final 2021.
Yeah.
US Open semi-finalist 2018
Yeah.
and 2023 in the
Doubles.
doubles. She wins it. So yeah, I think it's sad that we obviously tend to as a country tend to focus a lot more on your team sports, but like there's some amazing people doing amazing things, and I guess it's also on us now to make sure that we cover and then obviously give her some respect because she's incredible and she's been on so many. I mean, if it was
That's
a
a
team
great
sport
career.
with this record,
It's a great career.
you know, so congratulations on your victory in the US
KG
Open.
Muncha.
Yeah. About Coco Golf.
Yeah. She's up there with Coco Golf, which is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loved it. Thank you so much.
Why are you so
Kunos.
deep today? You're deep in thought today.
Man, like it's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah.
Uwe CrossFit.
It's always my
Better CrossFit.
You
Sindwa
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
Akasibelo shoti lo bhuti lo.
Amapokopoko i-CrossFit yonke la nto
Sabakudala
leyo.
ilindisama la.
He's
Yes,
been.
come alive now.
He's
You guys are
been.
looking at me. Yes, barely said a word.
Oceanics Chiefs is not playing today.
Yeah,
so
so he's-
he
Yeah,
keeps
Mbongwana,
quiet.
Yeah, Man City is also not playing.
He's probably winning a lot of games behind closed doors. They Chiefs
Yeah.
amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Sapheka. Don't samusinamela.
So we're calling the Sundowns.
That is not
Yeah, thanks Nons, thanks
Thank
Sia,
you,
thanks
thank you,
Lunga, thank you to Sposh, shout out Sposh, kind regards boss, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. So please also comment, subscribe, like at All Rounders SA on YouTube. We've also got
IG.
a Instagram page. We've got it on X. At All Rounders SA. So please.
Such an odd thing to.
Yeah, it's
X.
I haven't gotten my head around saying X.
Yeah?
It's always Twitter.
When you said X, I was like, X?
It's
Yeah.
I was like, X for
Yeah.
more.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Okay,
Twitter.
yeah,
Twitter. It's X and Twitter. Yeah.
Siyanicela
Please,
bras. Cela
please.
comment.
Yeah, please. And we've enjoyed some of the comments that have come through as well because they make us improve. They make this whole production improve as well. So thank you to the people that have been throwing out suggestions, comments. We really do see them and we take them seriously, and we take them like we heed all those opinions and things that get said on the comment section. So please continue doing that, and we will catch you next week.